Hey, how y'all doing today? It's your girl Shock 360 Deep, and I'm gonna come at you guys today with another video. This one is kind of important to me personally because we're gonna be talking about nationality, and we'll just jump right on into it. So, I want to ask a question: who are you, and what's your nationality? A better question would be, what is nationality? Nationality is defined as 1. The status of belonging to a particular nation by origin, birth, or by naturalization. 2. A people having common origins or traditions and often constituting a nation. Or 3. Existence as a politically autonomous entity or having national independence. We have names like African American, Negro, Black, Colored, Mulatto. Why are there so many terms for the same group of people? Who is responsible for assignment of these names for us as a whole? See, now we have an issue. Not one of the names used today accurately describes who we are or where we come from. It doesn't tie us to any landmass directly. Africa is a continent with over 50 countries. Which one of those do African Americans come from? It leaves us without an identity, which is why Malcolm X had the X inserted at the end of his appellation, because X is universal for unknown. The original melanated people were scattered all over one landmass called Asia. We are indigenous to all lands on this planet. Here's some homework. Google the original people on any piece of land on Earth, and you'll come up with nothing but highly melanated people, copper colored. Even the darkest person isn't black. They're just a really dark brown. We didn't go off race in our previous lives or nations, but we went off tribes, tribal affiliation. The term Aboriginal is used interchangeably with indigenous, and that is incorrect. Because once you break down the word, you come up with the prefix AB, ab, which means away from. So an aboriginal is something away from the original. Remember, the enemy uses words to trick us all the time. Why do I bring up the fact that we are indigenous to this entire planet? A people with a lineage dating back as far as ours would have had a name for themselves. None of the terms I mentioned earlier are names of the race of people who now call themselves African American. What's an American? Well, according to Noah's Webster Dictionary, 1828, a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored race found here by Europeans, but now applied to European descendants born in America. Then one should ponder this. How come the foreigners who immigrated to America aren't called European American? Why is it only applied to those who they call African American? Who gave these people permission to rename us? Did we all collectively agree to be called African American? According to the mainstream lie given to the masses, all people of color came to these lands in 1619 on a boat to Jamestown, Virginia. This is why in 2019, people believe that we are finally being freed after 400 years of oppression. This is all a part of the deception to steal your birthright, land, and resources. Do your own research and you will see that so-called blacks came to America long before colonization and slavery. To learn more about the deception behind the transatlantic slave trade or human trafficking, you can go check out a brother named Dane Calloway. He has done amazing research on this topic, and because of him, a lot more people are looking into the matter and doing their own research. For the record, no one is saying the transatlantic slave trade account didn't happen. It is simply stating that the details are incorrect in reference to who and where the enslaved were supposedly picked up and taken to. Also, the numbers were greatly exaggerated. One minute we all agree the public school system has miseducated us, but yet and still we have our very own people defending the lies told by the oppressors. It's time to wake up. You are indigenous to this land. Your ancestors are from here. The Z or Olmec, Old Mex, ancestors left behind gigantic stone heads in South America. The Mississippians of North America left mounds up and down the Mississippi River. There was an entire Hebrew civilization found in the Grand Canyon with ancient Egypt artifacts. Sadly, these artifacts are hidden because they don't fit the current scientific and political agenda. The only people who don't know who they are. Everyone else has a nationality, a nation they come from. People who are indigenous to the lands are the rightful heirs, not the Indian you see in the forefront or any of the descendants of colonizers. India comes from the word indigo, which was used to describe the skin color of the people in India. Indian is a misnomer when applied to the native people of America. When Christopher Columbus came to South America, he met the Taino and Arawak natives who looked like dark-skinned people from India. He called them nice, which means foolish, stupid, or senseless, because they welcomed the conquistadors with love and warmth, only to be murdered and enslaved. For the record, Christopher Columbus never made it to the mainlands of the Americas. He never set a foot on North American continent, so check these schools who are still regurgitating these lies. Here's where I need you to really pay attention. The enemy has tricked us in many ways. It is no longer up for debate in regards to the numerous lies and manipulation that has been brought upon our people. They burned our libraries, destroyed records, painted over our art, knocked off the noses of our statues and monuments, and so much more. Before you were known as African American, Black, Hispanic, Mexican, or Negro, you had many names. We are ancient to this planet. Some variants of the name America was Moricans or Murs, Al-Moricans or Moors, and Al-Moricans or Moors. Today, people in the South still pronounce it as Murica. It was not named after Amerigo Vespucci. More on this in a later video. On November 18th in 1302, an abomination and blasphemy to us all was conceived. Unum Sanctum. Unum Sanctum is one of the most frightening documents in history. It is a document of the popes claiming their global power. It is what's known as an express trust deed. The last portion of it reads, and I quote, "Furthermore, we declare, we proclaim, we define that it is absolutely necessary for salvation that every human creature be subject to the Roman pontiff." In other words, in order to get to heaven, you have to go through the Pope and not God. It is not only the first trust deed, but it is also the largest estate trust ever conceived. It puts claim on the whole planet and everything on it, all conveyed in the Sesta QV Trust. The goal was to conquer the world and all her nations and to have every soul of every human being alive then and now. The Catholic Church merged with the Roman Byzantine Empire, who had been previously defeated by Muslims in 634. Together, they are what is known as the Roman Catholic Church. From this, 13 families, 13 private businesses schemed together to conquer the world through bloodshed and forced religion. Today, they control the world finance in London, the world military in Washington, D.C., and religion in the Vatican City of Rome. By 1492, the last standing Moorish empire was overthrown when Catholic King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella took over the Alhambra castle, which still stands today in Spain. Everyone was forcefully converted over to Catholicism under the disguise of Christianity. In 1493, the doctrine of discovery, a papal bull or order from the Pope, giving the Catholics all land to the west and south of a pole-to-pole line, 100 leagues west and south of any of the Azores or the Cape Verde Islands, west and south. He donated occupied land to the Catholics. In 1685, the Code Noir, or Black Code, was created. The decree was passed by King Louis XIV, and it outlined the conditions of slavery in the French colonial empire. It put limits on what free Negroes could do, banned all religion practices except Roman Catholicism, and called for the removal of all Jews from any colony occupied by the Europeans. In 1724, the Code Noir was revamped and was now called Christian Black Codes. The Christian Black Codes was created to control Native Americans, Africans, and free people of color. Slavery was supposedly started in 1619, right? So who are the free people of color in 1685 through 1724 when these color codes were created? Let's talk about the word black. The word black is defined as black, pale, wan, blaken, to become pale, to turn white, to bleach, also to lighten, bleak. These all came from the 1849, 1854, and 1859 editions of Noah Webster's dictionary. It is remarkable that black, bleak, and bleach are all radically one word. Passed by Congress on January 31st, 1865, and ratified on December 6, 1865, the 13th Amendment abolished slavery in the United States. But did it really? The 13th Amendment replaced involuntary slavery with voluntary slavery and made slavery legal only if one has committed a crime. The key term is involuntary. It did not get rid of slavery, it only modified it. Voluntary slavery was legal. So now I know you're wondering, who would voluntarily sign up for slavery? Well, with the help of Jesse Jackson and other civil rights leaders, so-called civil rights leaders, the people of the land traded in their allodial titles and God-given inalienable rights for privileges and licenses for a ride on the citizenship as Negro, colored, blacks, and now African American. Because the people chose to be citizens, we are considered lost at sea. The Pope is known as the head of the Holy See, which means the holy seat. This also goes with explaining why we are said to be lost at sea. Remember unum sanctum? Civilly dead are sub vilitur mortis, which means dead in the eyes of law. It means you don't have any rights. Doesn't that accurately explain the so-called justice system in America when it comes to the so-called blacks? Civilir mortis means the condition of one who has lost his civil rights and capacities and is accounted dead in law. You accept your European name or label of property, which in reality is a prisoner of war name, known as a nom de guerre or straw man, in exchange for your freedom. Then you cry about the things done to you because of this. It doesn't make sense. The 14th Amendment made everyone in the jurisdiction of Washington, D.C. a citizen. Then, with the creation of the Social Security number in November of 1935, this stretched the jurisdiction of Washington, D.C. to every single state in the Union or the Union states. So now they have jurisdiction over everyone as long as you have a Social Security card and later on a birth certificate. For the record, black is not a race. Black is a label which denotes property or something that is civilly dead in the eyes of the law. White means free or allodial in the eyes of the law. Keep things in context. Remember, we're talking law. Everything is law and politics. Don't let them play us with trying to make it seem like everything has a religious aspect behind it when in reality, it's always political, a political agenda. The unum sanctum document is simply the Pope putting his power. He believes that he is God, and by seizing to what they're putting on us by becoming these names, you are willingly bowing to them. Stop calling these things racism when in fact what we are dealing with is a continuation of so-called laws passed to further displace you from your land in order to continue stealing your birthright, land, resources, and most of all your inner light or your soul. When you take on the names of your oppressor who has held you in bondage in your own land, when you willingly call yourself Black or African American, even if you were tricked in the past, you agree to any and all harsh treatment that may arise in doing so. So next time you're feeling like someone's being racist, or you're feeling like it's because you're Black, it is because you are claiming to be Black, because Black is property. Property doesn't have feelings. No one cares what a chair feels or if a chair gets chipped. No one cares about that. So in order to get out of that status, you have to claim your soul. Let these people know that you are not the body, but let them know that you are the soul. The soul is eternal. The body is only temporary. It's the vessel, the mode of conveyance.